Let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a pretty startling psychological reality. Have you ever wondered why dropping your mask and finally, truly being yourself often triggers just intense anger from the people around you? It's super jarring, right? But it turns out it's deeply rooted in human psychology. So we're going to break down exactly why this happens, and we'll use some absolutely fascinating concepts to explain why people actually attack you when you simply stop pretending.
We've got to start by validating what is honestly a universally isolating experience. Think about it. You finally say no. You drop that endlessly accommodating act you've been dragging around for years. You just decide to be real. But instead of getting rewarded with peace and, authentic connection, you're punished for it. The people around you literally go on the offensive. They start calling you difficult or selfish or negative. It's crazy, but you get punished for simply being real. The legendary psychologist Carl Jung actually called this the persona. It's basically that mask you put on every single morning. And why do we do it? Well, to earn approval, to avoid rejection, and to make everybody else feel nice and comfortable. Jung reveals something pretty heavy here. Our whole good person performance, it isn't actually built on love or integrity. Nope. It's entirely driven by a deep underlying fear of rejection.
I want you to look at your own life right now for a second. When was the last time you set a simple, completely reasonable boundary and the other person reacted as if you had just declared total war on them? Seriously, think about it. If you've ever been made out to be the absolute villain in someone else's story just for being honest, listen, you aren't crazy. But you do need to understand the psychology of what's actually happening inside their minds. So, moving into the social illusion, to really get why this backlash happens, we have to look at how social groups function to suppress your truth.
Jung observed that families, friend groups, and workplaces operate on this thing called managed blindness. It's essentially a collective, unspoken agreement within social groups. The whole goal is just to smooth things over, actively demanding conformity over uncomfortable realities. So everyone basically agrees to ignore certain obvious truths just to maintain this nice, comfortable surface of cooperation. It's wild.
And that leads us straight to what's known as participation mystique. Now, this is a state of psychological fusion where people exist in this shared unconscious cloud. They basically agree to see only what the collective agrees to see. So here's the crucial takeaway. When you stop pretending, you are stepping right out of that fused unconscious cloud. You're flat out refusing to participate in their shared illusion anymore. Which brilliantly illustrates the core conflict here. A group organized around a shared illusion will always experience truth as an intrusion. This is exactly why your authenticity isn't getting applauded when you finally show it. To a group that's fast asleep in a comfortable little illusion, your newfound truth isn't seen as some beautiful personal growth. No way. It's perceived as an active, hostile intrusion into their carefully managed world.
By just sitting there in your authentic truth, you actually begin to function as a psychological mirror for everyone else. And this triggers a really powerful dynamic that Jung called shadow projection. Now, the shadow is basically this collection of unacknowledged, unacceptable qualities that people have decided they just don't like about themselves, so they shove them underground. But because they refuse to look at these qualities in themselves, they project them outward onto you. They literally treat you like a mirror.
Let's break down exactly how this mechanism turns you into the scapegoat step by step. Okay, so step 1, they suppress an unacceptable trait in themselves. Step 2, you stop playing along with the group illusion, which effectively makes you a super clear mirror. And step 3, because they absolutely refuse to examine their own reflections when they see something they don't like, they just project that suppressed shadow right onto you. You become the scapegoat simply because they need a convenient place to dump the parts of themselves they refuse to own. Make sense?
There's such a deep irony here, right? We hear it all the time. Just be yourself. Well, as long as yourself is entirely convenient for my current emotional needs. Society spends billions aggressively selling us the idea of being authentic on coffee mugs and in self-help books. But the collective completely turns on us the very second our authenticity inconveniences them. Suddenly, oh, you aren't being authentic anymore. You're just, going through a weird phase.
All right, let's look at the superpower of immunity. We're going to see how surviving this backlash actually unlocks a profound psychological resolution and gives you total immunity to shame. So let's compare these two states of being. On one side, you have the good persona. It's fear-driven, it's endlessly accommodating, and man, is it highly vulnerable to guilt. On the flip side, you have authentic reality. This is honest,
It's boundaried, stable, and incredibly grounded. Now, releasing that good person pattern often feels like total psychological annihilation at first. Why? Because that old, vulnerable mask literally has to die so that a stable, boundaried self can take its place.
And here is the real reason people find your new authenticity so profoundly unsettling. A person who has dropped the good persona can no longer be controlled with guilt or shame. That right there is the secret superpower. By dropping the act, you strip them of their absolute favorite tool for managing you. They just can't manipulate you by threatening to take away their approval anymore. It's gone. Just look at how those old manipulation tactics completely fall apart. In the past, they could guilt-trip you easily. They could look at you and say, "Ugh, what kind of person does that?" and just watch your apology reflexes kick into hyperdrive. But once you've integrated your shadow and dropped the act, those tactics totally collapse. You honestly no longer care about their little editorial on your character because you already know exactly who you are.
As Carl Jung so brilliantly noted, people who genuinely transformed stopped trying to appear good and they started being real. Because true psychological evolution, it means making a hard choice. It means choosing to be warm and generous, but firmly boundaried, even when your honesty makes everyone around you intensely uncomfortable. You stop performing and you finally start existing. So I want to pose this question directly to you right now. Have you reached that quiet stability, or are you still terrified of being misunderstood? Jung said that the ultimate proof of your evolution is when you can disappoint someone and remain completely, 100% grounded in your own knowing. You don't feel this frantic need to chase them down, over-explain yourself, or beg for their forgiveness. You just let it be. We'll wrap up this explainer with this final thought. Let them judge. Keep your truth. When people attack you for stepping into your truth, remember, it's not a sign that you've made a mistake. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It is the ultimate proof that your mask has successfully fallen. Let them be angry at the mirror. Your only job now is to remain unshakably rooted in the reality of who you actually are. So, tell me, are you ready to let the mask fall no matter the cost?